I am 69 years old, and I need to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. Everything you believe about escaping poverty is wrong. The advice you have been given your entire life, work hard, save money, wait for your opportunity. That advice was written by people who have never been poor a day in their lives. They do not understand the trap because they have never been inside it. I spent 40 years believing the same lies you probably believe right now. At 29, I was broke. At 39, I was still broke. At 49, after 2 decades of doing everything I was supposed to do, I was still trapped in the same cycle, wondering what was wrong with me. But something changed when I turned 50. It was not a lottery win. It was not some lucky break. It was finally understanding what poverty actually is and why the escape routes they teach you are designed to keep you exactly where you are. I am making this video because I am running out of time, and there are people watching right now who are trapped the same way I was trapped, and they need to hear what I desperately wish someone had told me when I was 25. Not for my sake, for yours. Let me tell you what poverty actually looks like, because it is not what you see in the movies. It is not dramatic homelessness or empty refrigerators. It is the quiet daily math that never stops running in your head. It is standing in the grocery store, calculating every item to the penny because you have $37 to last until Friday. It is driving on a tire you know is dangerous because you cannot afford to replace it and you cannot afford to miss work. It is that feeling in your chest every time the phone rings because it might be another bill collector. I remember the moment I understood I was truly trapped. I was 34 years old, sitting in my car outside my apartment, and I realized I made more money than I did at 24, but I was somehow broker. 10 years of working, and I had moved backwards. And the worst part was I had done everything right. I had worked the overtime. I had skipped the vacations. I had saved when I could. But the emergencies always came. The car broke down. The hours got cut. The rent went up. And every time I climbed one step forward, something knocked me 3 steps back. That is when poverty stopped being something that was happening to me and became who I was. I was not a person experiencing hard times. I was poor. It became my identity. And the loneliest part of being poor is that you cannot talk about it. People who have never been there do not understand, and people who are there are too ashamed to admit it. So you suffer alone, believing the lies that it is your fault, that you just need to work hard, or that one good break will change everything. Those lies kept me trapped for 40 years. When I was 50 years old, something happened that broke me in a way I never expected. My daughter came to me for help. She was 26, and she was struggling the same way I had struggled at her age. Same paycheck to paycheck existence, same fear in her eyes, same desperate math every month. And as I sat there trying to give her advice, I realized I had nothing real to offer. I was 50 years old, and I was still living the same life I was trying to warn her against. That moment shattered me. I had spent 25 years as a father trying to give my children a better life, and here was my daughter inheriting my poverty like it was a family heirloom. That night, I could not sleep. I kept asking myself how this was possible. I had worked hard my entire life. I had sacrificed, I had done what I was told, and I was still here, still broke, still trapped, and now watching my child fall into the same hole. That is when a terrifying question entered my mind for the first time. What if the problem was not my circumstances? What if the problem was not bad luck or a lack of opportunities? What if the way I think about money is the trap itself? What if 40 years of struggle were not random misfortune, but the predictable outcome of how poverty had trained me to see the world? That question changed everything. In the months after that realization, I started studying my own life like it belonged to a stranger, and what I discovered was painful, but it set me free. Here are the truths that took me 40 years to understand. The first truth is that poverty is a mindset before it is a bank balance. My brain had been rewired by decades of scarcity to always prepare for disaster instead of building for growth. Every dollar I earned went to defense, savings for emergencies, paying off the last crisis, bracing for the next one. I never invested in anything that could grow because I was too busy surviving. Poverty taught me to think in days and weeks because I could not afford to think in years. The second truth is that the safe choices are actually the most dangerous ones. I stayed in jobs I hated because at least they were stable. I never invested in new skills because I could not afford to fail. I avoided every risk because I could not afford to lose. But here is what I did not understand. Playing it safe for 40 years cost me everything. The hidden price of safety is a lifetime of standing still while the world moves forward without you. The third truth is that relationships are the real currency. I tried to escape poverty alone because I was too ashamed to let anyone see my struggle. But looking back, every opportunity that eventually helped me came through a person, not a job posting or a lucky break. My shame isolated me from the very connections that could have saved me decades earlier. The fourth truth is the hardest one. Nobody is coming to give you permission. I spent years waiting to deserve more, waiting until I had enough to take a chance, waiting until I was ready. But that day never comes. Nobody taps you on the shoulder and says, now you can stop being poor. You have to decide that for yourself. Once I understood these truths, I had to rebuild everything from the inside out. The first thing I did was make an investment in myself that terrified me. I spent money I did not feel comfortable spending to learn a skill that could grow instead of just survive. It felt reckless at the time. Every instinct screamed that I was being irresponsible. But that was the poverty thinking talking, and I refused to listen to it anymore. Then I did something even harder. I started reaching out to people I had pushed away. I swallowed my pride and admitted I needed help. I rebuilt relationships that years of shame and isolation had damaged. I stopped trying to escape alone. I want to be honest with you about something. This was not a fast process. It took me 19 years after that realization to get where I am today. There was no overnight transformation. There were setbacks and failures and moments where I fell back into old patterns, but I kept going. And now, at 69, my life does not look flashy. I'm not rich by any magazine definition, but I own my home. I have money that works for me instead of just passing through my hands. I sleep without that weight on my chest for the first time in my adult life. More importantly, my daughter learned these lessons in her 30s instead of her 50s. That alone made every struggle worth it. I am telling you this because you do not have 40 years to waste. I am telling you this because the people you love are watching you and learning from you. And if you stay trapped in poverty, thinking you will pass that trap down to them, just like it was passed down to you. If you are watching this and you see yourself in my story, I need you to understand something. The trap is not your circumstances. The trap is not your job or your bills or your lack of opportunities. The trap is believing you cannot change. That belief kept me prisoner for 4 decades. If I could go back and talk to my 25-year-old self, I would grab him by the shoulders and tell him to stop waiting. Stop waiting until you have enough. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Stop waiting for permission from a world that will never give it to you. Start investing in yourself today, even if it scares you. Start building relationships, even if shame tells you to hide. Start thinking in years instead of days, even when it feels impossible. I am 69 years old. I do not know how much time I have left. Neither do you. None of us are promised tomorrow. So, what are you going to do with the time you have? Are you going to stay trapped, believing the same lies that kept me poor for 40 years? Or are you going to decide today that the cycle ends with you? If this reached you, leave a comment and tell me what you are going to change. Share this with someone who is trapped and needs to hear it. Subscribe because I have more truths to share while I still can. The clock is ticking for both of us. Do not wake up at 69 wishing you had understood this sooner.